I like to say that agencies out of press associations are one of the kind of the best hidden secrets that are out there. I love all marketing agencies. I love what they do because I love marketing. But press associations around the United States actually have agencies built within their press association to be essentially a set of boots on the ground.
Welcome back to the Exact Digital Podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Kevin Berrier, the Marketing Director of MDDC Ad Services, a full-service marketing agency that operates within a press association, bridging the gap between traditional and digital media in a unique way. Kevin has a deep expertise in AI-driven sales and marketing strategies, media buying, and agency collaboration. He's been at the forefront of helping news media organizations and boutique agencies leverage AI to scale effectively, while keeping a strong focus on transparency and client success. This episode will explore how AI is changing the game for digital advertising and sales, the biggest challenges agencies face with programmatic advertising, how to build strategy partnerships that drive real growth, and the future of media buying and where agencies need to adapt. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's definitely a mouthful, but we gotta hype you up, you know?
That's right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I sound
Of
awesome.
course. Yeah, well, we were just talking about how Kevin is going to go give some speeches within the next couple of days. He's going to be beat bopping around. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our agency, not to kind of jump ahead, but our agency uses AI as a tool and doing what we do. And being out of a press association, we hold a conference every year that have seminars and other sessions for our news media membership. And in 2023, I did a seminar on advertising sales with AI, and it was eerie at how quiet it was. Like you could hear a pin drop. It was like showing fire for the first time, because AI was so new at the time, and word got around about this presentation. So we work with marketing conferences and other press associations around the United States to have me come out and geek over AI and marketing and advertising at different conferences. So it's in here in March. I'll be heading to upstate New York and Maine later this week and next week, and then shortly thereafter I'm hitting Kansas City and Colorado, and then off to Ottawa, Canada, which I'm super excited about that. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, he's teaching AI how to AI.
Exactly. That's exactly what AI Inception. Yes, I am building Skynet over here.
Exactly. And your agency operates within a press association, like you mentioned, which is a unique model. How does that structure impact how you service your clients?
Yeah, so our agency is out of a press association, the Maryland, Delaware, DC Press Association, and I like to say that agencies out of press associations are one of the kind of the best hidden secrets that are out there. I love all marketing agencies. I love what they do because I love marketing. But press associations around the United States actually have agencies built within their press association to be essentially a set of boots on the ground on behalf of their news media membership. We know that news media in part and largely relies on advertising revenues to help fund the amazing journalism and news media work that they do. So having press associations being collegial actually with other press associations allows us the opportunity to explore media buying at a national level, print media buying at a national level, and working with other press associations where then we can help drive additional revenue to our members. And in doing that, as we're working with clients direct, it gives us a unique value proposition from, print media buying and print news media buying, helping businesses and organizations reach that high quality audience. which is a bit of an education issue sometimes with direct clients, because the perception is that print media is on a rapid decline. And in fact, especially right now, given everything that's going on within the administration and the discomfort of discourse, people are turning to their local media to get professionally vetted information. And in that, we know who to talk to. We know how to negotiate rates without being bullies. So it's a good synergy there, in addition to us handling digital advertising and other forms of advertising for our clients.
Right. And, honestly, people have a feeling that it's going down, but I've seen a sort of spike recently, especially in my generation or the group of people that I interact with, is that we've grown up around digital. It's everywhere. So it doesn't always stand out. You have to be really strategic for it to stand out. So now a lot of times print will stand out. For example, during the election process, there was so much information from one side to the other. You never know what you were getting. But then I got a newspaper in the mail, and it had both candidates lined up right beside each other and had all these different stances, political stances, and had their exact description of what they believe on every single one of them. It's so hard to come across things like that.
Yeah, and I think, speaking to like being able to stand out, I think one thing that news media has really done a great job at, while admittedly probably being a little tardy to the party on it, in diversifying where they're delivering or serving their content. So news media rested on the laurels of sending pages to the press and running it on paper and delivering it to mailboxes and to houses every day, and not really recognizing the importance of social media as a delivery vehicle, or just digital as a delivery vehicle. And once that kind of bubbled up and came to be, I mean, newspaper.com sites are increasing in traffic and have a lot of great information. Their social channels have a lot of great information, and it's professionally vetted and created content. Whether you love the newspaper or you love news media, hate news media, it is professionally vetted content to get the information out there. So I'll always, for news media, and a lot do, I'll always turn to news media before turning to, I don't know, BuzzFeed or, blog style sites where it could have a heavier lean, or it could not be as properly vetted as it should be. So, and that equates to the audience that we can deliver to our advertisers. They're educated, they're affluent, they have dispensable income. It's a high quality audience.
Right. And also there's so many ways to entangle digital advertising with print. You can put device ID, geofence around where these print pieces are being delivered, and you can hit them at multiple targets, put QR codes on the print. There's so many ways to now entangle that and add that to your multi-channel approach.
I love that. It seems like you have do you have a traditional media background in your pocket? Because those are all great strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a part of what my degree was in, but as well as it's something that we work together with partners on all the time. And we've just found it to be a really foundational thing for maybe local communities or chamber of commerces or things like that.
Exactly. Great for events. And don't sleep on, sending press releases and, going after some earned media as well. Events are great pieces of content. So thank you for recognizing the value of print news media. So you're a good egg in my book.
Yeah, I'm holding on to it for dear life. I want my degree to be valid for as long as possible.
That's right. That's right.
But hey, no, it really does help me in my digital marketing aspect of my career. It kind of goes together a lot.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it's I think you're absolutely right. The days of a business resting their budgets on a singular tactic to put a line out the door and around the corner and measure conversions and get, a 10x return on ad spend, those days don't exist. And it's primarily because there are so many different vehicles and so many ways that audiences engage their focus, whether it's social, digital, programmatic display, or, owned and operated display, print, billboard. I mean, there's so many different options. So being able to diversify and mixing in and marrying different tactics together that makes sense, that's how the needle gets moved forward, rather than, putting an ad in the newspaper and hoping, a $100 ad brings $1,000 of business. That's not always. If it was that easy, I think we'd have a lot more entrepreneurs in the world than we do. So, being able to work with someone like you or like me, or other marketers that understand the game, to understand how to place budgets appropriately, so you're diversifying your brand awareness is key, and it's rare. Unfortunately, it's that's a rarity for, I think, people to realize that, but it's very important.
Right. And like you said, just putting something out and hoping for a line around the door is just not how things work anymore. You could get lucky and maybe it might, but there's such loud noise around us at all times now that you really have to tell the story. People have to believe that it's their idea, that they have just stumbled upon you. They've seen you everywhere in multiple different avenues, and they feel like you're communicating with them specifically, and it makes them feel like they're a part of something rather than, hey, buy now, this is 25% off, or it's going to go away in a week, and blah, 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 blah. People are like, okay, and I'm sure there's going to be another company that has the exact same thing. So why would I?
And there are, and I love the way you put it on, like, there's so much noise, right? And it's getting louder by the day. And I think also understanding when it's getting deafening and when audiences look to change their behavior. I mean, we're seeing it now. It was seen with X, on audiences changing behavior, on how they engage with different platforms, whether it be in print or digital. It's like the waves in the ocean. It's very predictable to see, but you have to know what to look out for to understand, like, am I really hitting the audience that I'm looking to hit within a specific platform or vehicle, and is there enough audience there to warrant the budget, right? So there's a lot of things to consider, but it's definitely getting noisy out there. It's definitely getting noisy.
Noisy for sure. So you have integrated AI into both sales and marketing. What was the turning point where you realized AI was necessary for your agency?
Yeah, that's a question that I get a lot. So our agency, in 2022, we were kind of just coming out of the COVID pandemic, and early on, I got to. I was brought on by the Maryland Delaware DC Press Association to grow this agency, like, right on almost the eve of COVID, and we decided to go after some low hanging fruit to get some low hanging fruit revenue event business. We operate in Maryland, Delaware, and Washington D.C., and in all of our areas, when COVID hit, events stopped. So as I'm sitting here one day, just like head in my hands as I'm getting call after call with, clients who have committed, having to pull their dollars, we realized that we and other businesses around the United States would have to really get creative. So in coming out, so we survived the COVID pandemic. We said, okay, we used the COVID pandemic to prepare and say, we're going to come out. We had business, but business decreased holistically. So we used it as an opportunity to really prepare. And I've always been a digital geek. I love to geek out on digital. And, with AI coming at the end of 2022, I knew it was coming. I was following OpenAI for some time. I was really interested in Elon Musk's involvement in it. In the beginning, and then when Sam Altman came on to the OpenAI landscape, I've always been an admirer of Sam Altman. I think he's and Elon Musk. Honestly, I think any politics aside, they're geniuses in what they do in their other businesses. So I was always following. I knew it was coming. So when it dropped, I was on, like, I was buying Taylor Swift tickets on, like, get my account, and start playing around with it. And I was lucky enough to be able to get in. I mean, I literally was like, 1 in the morning, and I'm sitting at my computer, making sure I get a seat at the table, and we did. And that allowed us to maintain our flexibility and adaptability. We are a small agency. We're growing, which is great. But at that time, we were very small. It was basically me, myself, and I. And it's important to make yourself look like a 3,000-pound gorilla on the block. And we were able to see that even, it's interesting, in 2022, early 2023, AI came out onto the world stage basically as a baby, and how it's progressed till now. Even like that antiquated version of AI, ChatGPT 3, the capabilities it had to allow us to be more efficient in what we do was important for us in moving forward. It was a part of our plan.
Absolutely. I'm so unserious. I'm just imagining you like a split screen and the little girl waiting for her Taylor Swift tickets at 2 a.m., just like refreshing, refreshing, refreshing.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. With like my, I love AI t-shirt on, and, my coffee to the side. It was, yeah, looking back on it, it was very much like, being a Swiftie. I wonder what
Right.
the
And
AI version of that is.
yeah, and just like seeing, like you said, where it's gone since then, it's truly been implemented in so many things, and we still don't know where it's completely going. And, you know, many agencies are struggling with balancing automation and personalization. So, how do you use AI to improve efficiency while maintaining a human touch?
Yeah. Yes. We see it in other agencies on like automation from the standpoint of AI and how it can help you automate things. People have dove into AI headfirst, blindly, eyes closed, where AI is the hammer and you're the nail. And that's a problem, right? Because AI is not perfect. We know AI hallucinates, and in the AI world, hallucinations, that's the term for it. It'll quote things that people didn't say or have been questionable, or it'll just give falsities. Now it's gotten much better in the past few years, but especially in the beginning, it was there was some hit or miss. So there needed to be a human element. What that always meant for us is when we're using AI, we're not relying on AI for us to cut corners. We're using AI in a way to help avoid things falling through the cracks. So by and large, our AI usage is behind the scenes. It's to help us be more effective and efficient and flexible and adaptable in the prep work that we do. But we don't deploy AI very much, at least natively, honestly at all. We don't deploy AI at all natively in automation efforts. We rely on other platforms to help us automate that are more experienced within, they've gone through checks and balances. It's past the beta stage, and it's more tried and true. But that said, especially in the digital side, as we're running digital campaigns, machine learning only goes so far, and being able to have human eyes to vet information is incredibly important. Even even Google ads, their machine learning, they're pushing what they want to push, performance max campaigns, it's like no matter what, and they push, their AI models and their machine learning. But even Google's machine learning has made egregious mistakes that, if left unchecked, you're burning budget wastefully. So being able to use it as a tool, I always harp, use it where you're the hammer and it's the nail. Vet the information, understand how it's pulling the information, understand its sources, and then use human judgment and decision making to make final decisions. Don't allow AI to make the decisions for you. Don't ask it to make the decisions for you. That's not its place, at least
Right.
yet.
Because it will. Like I've seen it firsthand where it'll, even if you're just using ChatGPT and say, for example, you're asking it to write a case study, it'll come up with some random stuff that has nothing to do with even your company. And like you've pulled your own case study and asked it to formulate, and then it's pulling from other agencies' experiences and platforms, and that's not true to who you are, and you didn't actually work on that campaign, and it doesn't align with anything that you've actually done. So it's going to give you the information that you ask for, but just be careful what you ask it.
And normally it's going to use sources that are at the top of the SERP results, right? So, and that'll be agency sites because us marketers understand SEO. So we put a lot of time and attention into SEO optimized websites. So we'll usually, especially if it relates around marketing or the business that you're in, usually it will be at the top. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, just vetting the information is incredibly important, and we're not relying on it to blindly engage in customer or client facing situations is very important, at least yet.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you mentioned scaling up your agency and being that 3,000-pound gorilla on the street. What was your biggest challenges in scaling your agency, and how have strategic partnerships helped?
Yeah, scaling up a marketing agency, no matter what agency, is tough. Usually small agencies live and die by one or two big clients, and as those two clients that usually require 90% of your attention exists, you have to take the other 10% and try to further scale out and build your business to diversify your revenue streams. So we were able to assess, once we landed a few big clients that really helped us move the needle. We were really able to assess how we partner with other agencies that may be subject matter experts in specific areas that we're not. We're not experts at everything. So being able to work with an agency that exists for brand refreshing and brand creation, being able to pull them in as a partner in a collegial way to work with our clients helps us scale. It helps divide and conquer tasks where you're not doing it all on your own. Same thing in the digital side of things, right? It's, having digital fulfillment agencies that we can rely on if needed to help us in executing on campaigns. It's very important. Otherwise, the alternative is we build it out in house. And I'll tell you, fun fact, any business listening, typically, the days of agencies like Mad Men, the Mad Men days don't exist anymore, where you have subject matter experts at everything sitting at a desk in a giant office on, the top floor of a building. That doesn't exist. The overhead's incredibly high. So agencies have, by and large, have adopted a model of flexibility and adaptability to partner with other agencies on like a project by project basis to help keep your costs low. More costs that agencies accrue, the more they're going to charge you in retainers, right? So as competition continues to grow, we have to be competitive in costs, and that's one way that we do that.
Absolutely. And, it helps you also focus on what you're best at.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, again, we're subject matter experts in what we do. I mentioned agencies that specialize specifically in branding, brand strategy, brand creation, refreshing. Their clients will then ask them, great, now we need to get the brand out there, and we're going to have to advertise to do that. Can you do that too? And a lot of these agencies don't. So there's a lot of, referring that goes back and forth, or bringing us into their fold and working with their clients, sometimes in a white labeled capacity, sometimes just in an affiliate partner capacity. But it's a model that works. It's the evolution of how agencies operate. And in fact, for us to be able to look at different subject matter experts, we can look at subject matter experts around the world now versus, maybe in our state. Our area of opportunity for networking has extrapolated to Earth rather than your city. So it gives us a lot more opportunity to pull in, AAA players into our mix to build out the team that is custom for the client based on their needs.
Right. And, we'd mentioned a lot about there's so much information out there. There's so many things to do. And it's not just, hey, I'm going to put this ad out now. Everybody's going to go wrap around the building. And it's because there's so much. And because of that, if you're trying to spread yourself too thin and say, oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, then you're not able to focus on one thing. You can be good at a lot of things, but not great at one.
Exactly. If you're talking to an agency that says we're great at everything, that's the first flag because it just doesn't exist. We are not. Ad services is not. Branding is not my thing. Creative design is not my thing. My brain doesn't think that way. I'll rock some Canva.com all day, every day, but beyond that, it's just not my. It's not my it's just not my understanding from a photography standpoint. Rule of thirds. Just found out about that like a week ago. I had no idea because I'm not a photographer. But as we're working with photographers on behalf of our clients, we get that understanding, and it provides a better result because of that. So yeah, I mean, you can be good at everything, or you can be great at some things. And I would take working with someone that's great at some things and then pulling others in that are great at what they're not, than rolling the dice and hoping I get enough out of the money I'm spending with an agency that's good at everything.
Exactly. Perfect. Well said.
Thank you.
You have strong insights on the trade desk and other DSPs. What are some of the biggest limitations and strengths in programmatic advertising right now?
Yeah, so for the programmatic display side, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So like from a programmatic display side, there are less limitations that you will see in terms of targeting normally than like Meta. And I'm a proponent on both, but Meta has a lot less targeting flexibility than programmatic display. But when you're looking at I guess limitations, you are looking at, because typically programmatic display through DSPs it's usually anonymized. So you lose some insight as to really who you're serving to. It is all third-party data versus first-party or zero-party data. So as you add those layers in, the quality of audience could go down. There's data limitations and privacy are kind of the hot button right now. Most DSPs are using cookie environments, and as search engines and other data aggregators are moving more towards a cookieless world, DSPs they saw it coming. So many are prepared for it, but you never know until you actually start using it to see. So there's limitations there. Like attribution and measuring can be a bit tough unless you're really, you're UTMing and, you're in analytics to see like, where is that traffic coming from? And then, working with, it's by and large a self-serve platform, by and large, whether it's you're going to the DSPs direct or you're using the trade desk. Again, it goes back to pulling in others that are subject matter experts. I rely on, marketing is a collaborative world, and the best marketing campaigns come from ideas usually that didn't come from you. It came from another subject matter expert that was in a think tank session with you that came up with a great idea. I experienced it yesterday in a meeting I had, and depending on who you work with from a programmatic display standpoint, you may not have that. And it's frustrating because you're paying for it, right? But you're not using it. So again, it goes back to really like, there's a lot of cool, sexy bells and whistles that programmatic display has. You have geofencing, geofarming, you have device ID, you have contextual targeting, you have search keyword targeting, you have just a myriad of interest level targeting. And without restraint, someone who's self-serving that's going to say, give me it all, right? Give me like the $1,000 steak. But steak is steak, right? Like you have to, simplicity sometimes is best. You don't have to, you can over target, right? So being able to understand, but also have a good partner that can give you some feedback on inventory availabilities that exist or just other ideas is I think widely needed, but rarely given in many respects.
Right. And, that's actually one of the reasons that we built our agency the way that we do, is because we wanted to be those experts that help people strategize while also placing the media. So it's not that, they're over ordering, or they don't know maybe how to test something, or they're not looking at the right target audience. And, we can go in and have that conversation with them and really discuss whether or not this is the direction we should take. And it's become such a conversation, and I enjoy the psychology behind it and just being able to find the perfect fit. When I am very indecisive myself, so I'm like, ooh, this direction, oh wait, this direction. So I just have to, peel it back and figure out, okay, well, where are we starting? We're going to go here. And just having those conversations with them rather than just being order takers is so important.
Yeah, and in you saying that, being indecisive, being interested and wanting to geek out on the psychology in it, that makes you a great marketer. And that's rare. That's such a rare thing. So anyone listening, give Kenzie a call. I would give you my business, because being indecisive means that you're looking at the situation at all angles. Not at a preconceived or a pre-notioned angle, but you're looking at it at all angles. You're understanding, from the psychology standpoint, you're understanding the audience in which you're looking to put your messaging in front of. And audience psychology from different pockets are like factions in the world, right? They all respond to different things in different ways, and understanding how that exists is so important, and it's so rare. But if you can do that, now you're a trusted advisor to your client rather than being, like you said, an order taker. And if you can become a trusted advisor and they're calling you for ideas, you're in. You're in. That is the type of relationship you want to have with your clients, because retention will be low, trust will be long-standing, and then you can build as a partnership together, and it's a win-win.
Well, thank you, Kevin. That's very nice.
You're
Makes me
welcome.
feel really makes me feel nice about my indecisiveness. Now I'll keep that in mind.
Good. Yes. Embrace it. Embrace it.
It's just because I care, guys. I care.
That's right.
So programmatic advertising has become mainstream, and how do you see it evolving in the next few years?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is once search engines and other data aggregators go cookieless, how that will impact the programmatic display world. I don't expect it to impact it much on the front end. I'm curious as to where exactly the aggregation will come from on the back end, but there are so many data aggregators that don't rely on cookies, so I foresee, a cookieless environment not making too much of an impact. I think programmatic display does keep evolving into a higher quality medium more and more, as a traditional digital tactic, which is odd to say, right? Like traditional digital is oxymoronic, but it is. Programmatic display has been around for a long time. And I think being able to have that tactic evolved, because it is such a top of funnel approach, it's important. You got to fill the funnel to convert leads. So, programmatic display is a great way to do that. I think increases in the quality of personalization, I think, will be something that's needed for the future that responds to the current market. I think where the data will come from and the other bells and whistles it brings. I think you'll be able to geofence a little bit more precisely, though it is pretty precise. I mean, you can micro proximity target right now, so it is pretty fine tuned. But hopefully we'll see perhaps AI being incorporated into the think tank side of things. If third party digital fulfillment agencies aren't too keen on being a partner in that respect, bring AI into the mix. Vet it, but AI will give you a lot of great suggestions that you may not have thought of. In fact, it's a part of what I present on helping things avoid falling through the cracks, is it seeing things that you don't. And when you read when you read its response, and you recognize it's telling you something you didn't think of, that's a big aha moment. And it does put trust into the AI side. So hopefully the costs will come down. I'm seeing costs going up right now within DSPs. While DSPs are screaming, we want to democratize programmatic display, which in and of itself, again, higher costs while screaming we want to democratize is that's oxymoronic a little bit too, but hopefully costs will come down a little bit. And then I hope diversification in where ads are in where ads are placed. You can place ads anywhere that have programmatic ad stacks, but it seems like you can always get these kind of trashy in-app game impressions that just have little value, little to no value. While you're fat fingering playing Candy Crush, the ad comes up just in enough time for your finger to hit it, and it's, that's a non-valid click, So being able to optimize where these go better while not increasing your cost per thousand, into the stratosphere is, I think is needed.
Right. And, meaning like leaning a little bit more into the native aspect where it makes sense as to where this ad is placed, and you have a little bit more control in that.
Exactly. Yeah. And to a degree, there is that control. But when you're allowing a DSP to kind of optimize where your ad's being placed, you go in after 2 weeks and you look and it's like, 90% of my impressions are on in-app games. The other 10% is spread out across like high quality news websites or, other websites. And that's because the impression inventory is a lot of impressions in games, and it's cheap. It's cheap to serve on in-app games. I've never found the value in in-app games. So being able to balance the pricing, the per thousand pricing, to where it doesn't feel the need to just automatically optimize to in-app games, which will naturally appear to be the highest performing, but they're not. Sorry to any in-app game developer listening, but fix your programmatic stack, because when an ad comes up, for my kids play games on their phones a lot, and they'll see ads come up, and I always tell them, if an ad comes up, give me your phone so I can make sure they're not clicking it further. And they get ads all the time. It's because their little fingers are hitting ads mistakenly, because it's dead smack in the middle of the ad, or of the screen where they're trying to play a game. So it's by design, more heavy on non-valid clicks, which is super, super frustrating.
Right. I did get lucky one time. I had a client that was an actual game company that wanted to promote their games only on in-app games, and hey, that worked.
See, that's amazing. Yes, and there's the place, right? So thank you for bringing that up, because there is a place on that, right? It is a niche way, or kind of there is a place for some products on games, especially other games, right? And amongst many other things. For the clients we tend to deal with, it's typically service-related businesses, that's a tougher sell, right? But you're absolutely right. There is a place for them, but not always,
Yeah, I'm not wanting to play Candy Crush to learn more about getting my roof fixed. That's
exactly
not where my brain is.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, a 300 by 50 ad, when you're trying to squeeze 50 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound sack, you can't even read it. It is tough. And even that in and of itself, having a marketer like yourself that understands that and can help optimize creative to visually be the highest performing on a little mobile device versus, a 300 by 600 on a desktop is important. And again, is rare,
Exactly. And so we've talked a lot about AI, and, your persona development has been a huge success. Can you share an example of how AI has helped you win a major client?
Yeah. So when I present, I use myself as a case study. So thank you for sharing. So personas are, I think personas aren't used enough. Or other creative briefs by agencies, but it's really the lifeblood in what marketers need to target effectively. So we were working with another agency who was using us in a white label capacity, a boutique agency that had relationships with a higher ed client here in our region, and this higher ed client wanted to explore us promoting various programs within their college. And every program has a different audience, completely different audience, geographically, demographically, different interests, stages in the career, education levels. You name it, you name the variable, it'll be different. And we found that the college, they they had a grasp on who their target consumers were for each program, but it was kind of like all in their head, right? They're like, and it was hard to really cobble together a creative brief or a persona. So what we did was we used ChatGPT. We tied it into a website called Consensus. Consensus is basically like a search engine that is where the data is like different research journal reports, whether it's medical or otherwise, which is great for cobbling together persona profiles. So what we did was we created a GPT where it would analyze the program page of the college's site, so a specific program, let's say cybersecurity, and it would understand like what the nature of the program is, and then it would go to Consensus and it would start looking at research material that would help validate its belief in what a persona looks like for that program. And we had like 8 different programs we had to do this for. Now, if you bring in an agency to do this manually, you're looking at a few months turnaround time, and you're looking at probably like anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000, depending where the agency is. You go to a New York agency, you're looking probably 50 grand. We were able to do it in a day, and turn around and send it to the client for review, and also letting them know that we used AI in the researching of this, being transparent in how we used AI, more so as a CYA, but obviously being transparent. And they looked at it, and it's like their jaws go kind of like a bit askew and hit the ground, and it was a pin drop moment, because they were like, this is exactly what we're looking for. And in fact, we were able to give them the persona in 2 ways. We were able to give them a generalized persona summary and then a detail where, meet John. John is interested in being a cybersecurity, learning more about cybersecurity because he wants to advance his career, right? And then putting almost a name and quote unquote face to the persona. We were able to turn that around in a day as a value add, which helped bring us to the table forevermore on other opportunities. And then that allows us a blueprint on how we target. And AI is creating the persona from a standpoint of understanding where we're looking to market it, from Google advertising to Meta advertising to LinkedIn to other venues. And then it will provide feedback based on the likelihood that that type of targeting criteria exists within those individual platforms. Job titles, for example, for Meta. So it was in a very user-friendly way, not only for the client, but also for us to use it when building the campaigns. That was probably the biggest aha moment for me on like, holy crap, this is awesome, on what it can do. But I call out, being transparent, letting your clients know. I made the mistake once and it was a very simple one, but we do an athlete of the month video for a health and fitness facility, and there was like this motivational message that they share with their athletes on like, would you rather take $1 million now, or I'll butcher this, but it's like a penny a day for 90 days or something, compounding, right? Take a penny, compounding for 90 days. And the coach that I was speaking to was trying to get like, well, what's the calculation if they took the penny a day? So I asked ChatGPT, and it comes out with like 9.8 million or something. And I looked up, I'm like, it's 9.8 million. And he immediately was like, no, that's not it. That's way too high. So when we did the manual calculations, it came up as something different. So that's just an example of even simple math, right? If you try to cut that corner, even simple math, sometimes AI will not get it right. Though it's evolving quickly. I mean, AI is evolving very, very quickly. It's getting much better, but again, that's where like using that transparency, vetting the information, looking at it and be like, does this make sense to me, right? If I'm going to send this to the client, let me make sure it makes sense to me before it makes sense to them. And then, letting them know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to you obviously saying vet it out and being strategic with what you use it for, because you used it for simple math here and it wasn't successful, but then you used it for something much more complex and it was a pin drop moment for everyone. So just making it make sense in your mind, saying like, oh, this number doesn't look correct because normally this gives you this many impressions. This isn't, because it's going to make mistakes. I mean, it's not a human, but I guess it's kind of like a human in a way that can be good a lot of times, but will make mistakes.
It is. And a lot of it goes into prompting. So a good tip a good tip or trick that I've learned over time is uh, giving it a role. For the persona profile, I said they were an agency level persona researcher that specializes in higher education persona research. And it'll then spit back and then enter, boom, let it spit back. This is what I think you mean, and it'll blurp out, what it believes you mean, what it believes that you mean, and then you provide it with here's what I need, but then also asking it or telling it to ask you clarifying questions before you proceed. That's something that it will drastically increase the quality of output that you have. So it'll ask you some clarifying questions, take the time, answer them well. You'll be amazed at how much higher of a quality your output will be versus if it didn't ask those clarifying questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I definitely believe that AI is really, really important, but, taking the time to look at it first, let's not dive head first. Let's still continue to see what we can do on our end. And also going back to your point of how to address it, I've learned that you need to have a conversation with it, a slow conversation.
Yes.
If you're trying to build something with it, don't just say, this is what I need, here's all the details, don't forget this, and I want to add that. It's going to be like, what do you mean? So be like, this is what we're doing. And then it'll respond, okay, well, this is what I think you mean. How would you like me to proceed with that? Oh, well, I would like this. And then it'll ask you those qualifying questions down the line, and it'll give you the ability to tweak it so that you're not having to go back and being like, oh, I like what you came up with here, but could you change this, that, and the other? Then it just becomes confusing for it. It doesn't translate well all the time.
Yeah, no, especially in the professional. If you're using it professionally, that's so important. OpenAI and other, Anthropic and even Google, have come out, even XAI, they've all come out saying, we understand that there's ambiguity in prompting. We're addressing that. We're going to teach our AI how to better understand ambiguity in your prompts. I have found that the only understanding in ambiguity is like when you're using AI personally, which I do. I use it. I'm a single dad of two amazing kids. And there's a lot of stuff my kids ask that I don't know, especially my 10-year-old daughter. So using AI to learn, it understands ambiguity personally. Professionally, you have to be much more precise, or it will fall short of what you need.
Absolutely. I actually use it as a workout plan. Like
Do
I'll
you?
say,
Okay.
yeah, I'll be like, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you lay it out for this? And then I'll be like, oh, I've had my body's tired this week, or, I want to amp it up, and it'll adjust it perfectly. And, you can say, where are you at strength wise, weight wise? And you can say, hey, I want to go up in weight, I want to go up in strength, and just all this different things. And it'll help you have that conversation.
Yeah, I used it. Just very quick story. I used it like I said. I have a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And my daughter asked me about her friends at school, or started talking about the time in which a girl becomes a woman, right? That conversation, and she asked me about it, and I was like, I got this. I'm going to slay this. So. Sitting in her bed before she goes to bed, I'm trying to talk about it. Like I equated it to the movie Avatar. Like it made sense at the time, but it actually makes no sense. And the conversation derailed quite quickly. So I left like really discouraged, but she didn't understand. I didn't understand. There were just more questions than answers at that point. So I used AI, and it not only was it empathetic to like my low level anxiety I had at the situation I just was in. But it also like it gave me ways that I could explain it to a 10-year-old. And also, gave me tips on like, you'll need a go bag in your car. Should that time happen while she's at school? And yeah, I would have never thought of that ever. So now I have a pink sparkly bedazzled bag with everything needed, plus a change of clothes and everything she will need in the back of my car. So should it happen, I'm there in 10 minutes. So for me as a single dad, just personally, AI has been so helpful to me in just navigating the busyness, and it can really equate to your professional life too. If you understand it. If you've never used AI before, use it personally. Take a picture of what's in your fridge and ask it to come up with a recipe for you that's healthy but tastes good. And then make it. And then be amazed at what it just did, or, if you're growing veggies from seeds, if you're a gardener, you can take pictures of how the plants I just did, how are the plants doing? And it will tell you whether there's an issue. So it is quite fascinating at how quickly AI has moved and how AI has helped me, and I think can help a lot of people.
That's really sweet. You seem like a really great dad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was out of survival and necessity that I
I
turned to AI.
empathize
So.
with you. My dad had to have that same conversation without AI. So,
Yeah, well, and it gave like great links to obviously children appropriate and created for kids YouTube videos. So that's what we did. I read off of what it said, and then we sat and we watched this video, and we both learned something, that day. So it allowed me a way to never give up from a very, very tough situation as a dad for their daughter. So I'm sure that will not be the only time I use it, and it won't be the only time it helps me navigate through a difficult conversation.
that's amazing. You've mentioned a lot of times like, oh, I don't know a lot about this, I don't know a lot about that, but you know a lot about a lot of things. You have a lot of information, so I can tell that you are somebody that has grown and will continue to grow based off of that concept.
Yeah, no, it's understanding that you're not great at everything, and you can use it to help you.
Right. And so looking ahead, where do you see MDDC ad services evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so we're continuing to scale. We're continuing to diversify our client base while maintaining the clients that we have, which any agency knows that's the toughest thing that an agency can do. And being able to be flexible and adaptable and understanding how we can use AI in the future, like the whispers of agentic AI. It's not even whispers; it exists now. At a very basic level, agentic AI, which is kind of the evolution of AI, which has just hit the market a few years ago. About in the next 6 months will be rampant. And for those who know, agentic AI is the AI having the ability to do multiple tasks for yourself. Think about having a virtual assistant that can make a call for you to set up an appointment to, get your oil change for your car. And it can actually call and have a conversation with a human, and it can have a link to your calendar. And as it's having this call with another human being to set a time, it can provide you messaging back saying this time's not available. What about that time? Or it can look at your calendar. OpenAI already has that now in its deep thinking model. If you haven't tried it on 4.5, GPT 4.5, their deep research model, it's amazing. And you can have it research anything, and it takes a good 30 to 45 minutes for it to process, but it's looking at dozens up to hundreds of sources. In fact, I'll be giving a presentation to a public library system on AI, and one thing they wanted me to touch on is the environmental impact of AI, which BT Dubs is not great. The environmental impact right now is horrid. Which sucks, but I believe AI is also going to solve that problem, incidentally. But it was able to do a very detailed research on it, provides all its sources, good sources, and it being able to just expand and do more things. I've always been asked, is AI going to take over jobs? And I think some it will. I think in the marketing space it won't. But I think those that from a sales capacity, those that do not embrace AI or use AI in the sales capacity for marketing and advertising will be overshined by those that do. So we will continue to use AI. We'll continue to find reputable and reliable partners to work with so we can all win and expand, because I believe as marketing agencies, it's going to take a village. So we're not living and dying by a few big clients, and we're diversifying. And then do what we do best, which is helping connect businesses to audiences, to help their businesses grow, and then we grow as a byproduct of that.
Absolutely. Kevin, this has been such a great conversation. Your insights with AI-driven marketing, programmatic advertising, and the power of partnerships are so relevant in today's evolving industry. And for anyone out there who wants to learn more about MDDC Ad Services, check them out at mddcadservices.com.
Yep.
Perfect. And connect with Kevin on LinkedIn. What was that LinkedIn again?
Just search Kevin Berrier. I think it's just Kevin / Kevin Berrier. It'll be the guy with the big beard. And yeah, please connect with me. I have had a lot of people connect with me around the AI space and ask questions, and I answer. I love geeking out over AI and helping others expand their understanding of it. So definitely, please reach out.
Amazing. Well, Kevin, thanks again for joining me. This was a fantastic discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah.